Hello, dreamers. You're with Luke Martin, and tonight, as you drift away, we're wandering through the quiet craters and lantern-lit streets of Megaton, the shambled, stubborn heart of Fallout 3. There's something about Megaton that's always made me pause. It's a town built, rather recklessly, around an unexploded atomic bomb. Right in the center, just ticking away. I'll admit, the first time I stumbled up those scrap metal gates, I nearly turned right back around. The silhouette of that bomb beneath the dusk, even after all these years, thinking of it makes the hairs on my neck prickle in the best way. Why there? Why would anyone settle beside a sleeping giant like that, when there's the whole, admittedly deadly, Capital Wasteland to choose from? I suppose necessity can create the strangest homes. It's a bit like walking into an old creaky house and hearing the floorboards moan out a warning, yet deciding, yes, this will do. And so, Megaton became a cradle for hope, caution, and maybe a bit of madness. Now, the story goes that the earliest settlers weren't actually born in Megaton. They trickled in from the battered edges of Springvale, just down the cracked road. Imagine refugees, desperate for a wall or any shape of safety. But this bomb, it offered them a strange promise. Some thought it protected them from raiders or mutants. Others whispered something more. Supernatural. Desperation can bend your sense of risk, can't it? If all you've got to choose from is ruin or a so-called holy bomb, well, which way would you go? I sometimes lie awake and wonder, would I have done the same? Would you? Would you build your home next to a relic of destruction, if it meant another sunrise for your kin? That's Megaton's weird charm. Every brick and plank is a wager with fate. And through it all, standing guard, there's Lucas Sims. Now he's a man who knows about calm. Sheriff's badge gleaming, voice steady as sheet metal in the rain. He's the sort who settles arguments with a look, not a bullet. That Ecodome cowboy hat he wears, it's become a sort of beacon. You see it bobbing through a crowd and think, all right, Sims is watching. I'm reminded of my dad, to be honest. Quiet authority. Few words, but each one matters. Something about Lucas makes the wild chaos beyond those walls soften just a little. I wonder how many nights he spent thinking about that bomb and his duty. Not all heroes go for grand speeches, you know. Then, in the foggy hours, when stars begin to disappear, you might catch Confessor Cromwell preaching down by the bomb. He's head of this peculiar bunch, the Children of Atom. The faith is, well, it's unlike anything our world's ever really seen. They worship the atomic bomb as a vessel of divine light, speaking about division and rebirth, all while the bomb waits in silence. Cromwell's sermons seem never-ending, echoing across the muddy streets at all hours. There's something magnetic about it, I'll admit. I've seen even the most skeptical wander over, lulled by his voice, or maybe just hungry for answers of any sort. And it makes me think, what would it take in our world for a faith like that to grow? If our most dangerous creations became altars, would we cling to them for hope or tremble in fear? Megaton shows in its own way that people will search for meaning even amongst ruins. Of course, no tour of Megaton would be whole without Moira Brown, plucky, ever cheerful, and maybe a touch cracked from too many radiation storms. Moira runs Craterside Supply, She's endlessly energetic, always shoving a new invention at anyone passing by. But what she's truly known for is recruiting the poor lone wanderer, you, if you're playing, to help her with the Wasteland's survival guide. I always found her positivity, even when she's asking you to get bitten by mole rats, a strange comfort. Reminds me of Mrs. Evans, my teacher in primary school, telling us that every scraped knee was a chance to learn. Moira's optimism cuts right through Megaton's gloom, bringing light and bandages wherever she goes. Ah, the brass lantern. If Megaton's a clock, this place is its tick-tock heart. You wander in and the world feels, well, warmer. Lanterns swinging, tales growing taller with every mug of something that tastes just shy of clean water. It's here news travels fastest, sometimes twice before it's even true. There's always someone spilling secrets over mashed iguana or mutfruit stew. One face that stands out is Gob, the ghoul at the bar, skins rough as the wasteland itself, but heart soft as anything left. Gob's the sort to lend an ear, not expecting anything but maybe a kind word in return. I sometimes think it's these odd friendships that keep Megaton running, not the walls or the bomb, but the ties between folks who found each other in the dark. But then, not every stranger comes to Megaton seeking comfort or kin. One shadow on the wall is Mister Burke, suited and smooth as an old snake, offering an invitation to disaster. He comes from Tenpenny Tower, all polished and secretive, with a plan to turn Megaton from a landmark to a memory. Detonate that bomb. Wipe away the mess. Start over, he says. For the player, it's a fork in the road, isn't it? Do you save a battered, hopeful town, or snuff it out for luxury and a few credits? The decision's heavy, and in a world short on justice, it's these moments that reveal our real selves. I wonder, how do you weigh right and wrong when sometimes both paths are shrouded in fog? The wasteland never gives an easy answer. Now, not everyone wandering Megaton's streets shoulders a rifle or a sorrowful past. There are children like Maggie, orphaned, found, and then taken in by the ever-patient Manya Vargas. Their bond is a reminder, no matter how bleak the shadows, some hearts just refuse to quit. Protecting the young becomes almost a sacred duty in the ruins, a way to pretend things might be ordinary once more. I remember once, back in my old neighborhood, we all chipped in for a broken radio so a girl on our street could have music. Little gestures, you know. In Megaton, I suspect that small kindnesses, taking in a child, sharing a meal, are the glue keeping hope alive when everything else is falling apart. When you walk Megaton's winding paths, behind every rusty door there's a story. Craterside's supply, for instance, stocked with gadgets, Geiger counters, bits you'd never imagine surviving out here. But more than that, Megaton's got secrets, a hidden armory tucked beside old generator rooms, tunnels you might miss if you blink. Even its people guard riddles. Manya knows more about the city's roots than she lets on, and there's Nathan rambling about Enclave Hope. Next time you can't sleep, picture yourself wandering those alleys. Quiet footsteps echoing, maybe finding a hidden note or two. Plenty of mysteries for those longing for adventure, even if just in their dreams tonight. For all its eccentricities, Megaton is a sort of artery in the wasteland, a place where caravans converge, whispers become headlines, and lost souls get their bearings. Many drifters, after a few nights in the lantern and a chat with Sims or Moira, realize they've stumbled onto their first real home. And if, heaven forbid, the town were lost to that bomb, the entire tapestry of the wasteland would change. Trade, safety, even hope, all flickering out. So what makes a patch of cracked earth and corrugated steel a home? Maybe it's not the walls themselves, but the laughter, the bickering, the persistence that whatever comes tomorrow, people will face it together. Right, I think that's enough for tonight. Let these stories settle in as you drift off. We'll wander further next time. Until then, dream easy, wanderers.